The movie opens by introducing us to the protagonist, Christian, a character of considerable wealth. This wealth is inherited from his millionaire parents who have passed away, leaving their fortune entirely to him. On the surface, Christian appears to be a typical wealthy individual, but a creepy aspect of his life soon becomes apparent when we meet Frank. Frank, intriguingly, is a human dressed in a dog costume, behaving entirely like a pet for Christian. This unusual dynamic presents a strange and somewhat unsettling visual. As the day begins, we see Christian engaging in a routine breakfast activity. It's during this time that he browses through Tinder, where he stumbles upon the profile of a woman named Sigrid. She captures his interest, prompting him to like her profile. Later that evening, we witness a tender moment between Christian and Frank. Christian diligently takes care of his dog, which includes bathing him, brushing his teeth, and tucking him into bed with a gentle goodnight wish. Frank, obediently playing his role, settles down to sleep on the floor. Before drifting off to sleep himself, Christian decides to reach out to Sigrid, sending her a message. The next morning brings a response from Sigrid, sparking a regular exchange between the two. Their chat leads to Sigrid inviting Christian for a meeting, an invitation he eagerly accepts. Christian arrives at the designated meeting spot where he waits for Sigrid over a beer. As time passes and Sigrid is yet to arrive, Christian contemplates leaving. However, just at that moment, Sigrid makes her appearance, apologizing for her lateness. Their conversation reveals more about each other. Sigrid is studying psychology at a private institution and works part-time as a cashier. Christian, in contrast, is portrayed as somewhat aimless, living a life without particular direction or occupation, simply going with the flow. Throughout their interaction, Sigrid often seems distracted by her phone, which she admits is a bad habit of hers. As dusk settles in, Christian musters up his courage and decides to invite Sigrid over to his house. She accepts and upon arrival, finds herself admiring Christian's residence. Her curiosity piques as she inquires whether Christian lives in such a vast house all by himself. He responds affirmatively but adds that he isn't entirely alone, he has a dog. The evening progresses, and the chemistry between Christian and Sigrid intensifies. Unable to resist the growing attraction, Christian leans in for a kiss. However, as things start to become more intimate, they are unaware of an unusual observer, the dog, Frank, who seems oddly fascinated with the couple's activities. The next morning brings an awkward and startling revelation for Sigrid. Upon waking up and encountering Christian's peculiar dog, her initial bewilderment quickly turns to disgust. She decides to leave abruptly, her mind swirling with confusion and unease. Later, Sigrid confides in a friend about her strange experience with the guy she met on Tinder. Her friend, surprisingly familiar with Christian's background, reveals that he is the son of a multimillionaire. Despite Sigrid's reservations about Christian's unconventional lifestyle, her friend advises her not to dismiss a relationship with a wealthy individual over his unique hobbies. Intrigued and somewhat baffled, the girls delve deeper into understanding Christian's unusual behavior. Their research leads them to discover a subculture known as puppy play, where one individual adopts the role of a dog while another takes on the role of the owner. Reflecting on this, they conclude that while it may be unconventional, they shouldn't judge others for their lifestyle choices, as long as it doesn't cause harm to anyone. This realization opens up a new perspective for Sigrid, leading her to reconsider her initial reaction and the broader implications of personal freedoms and choices. Sigrid soon contemplates reaching out to him to clear the air. Before she can act on this thought, Christian beats her to it, calling her first. They both offer apologies for the previous night's events and agree to meet again to better understand each other. Christian picks up Sigrid from school and takes her to his home. Over dinner, the conversation turns to Frank, the human dog. Christian explains that Frank's choice to live as a dog is entirely his own. He emphasizes that Frank has no one but Christian in his life and insists that Frank should be treated like a real dog, not a person. Curious, Sigrid attempts to interact with Frank by stroking him, but Frank's behavior becomes overly insistent, making her uncomfortable. Seeing this, Christian quickly intervenes, sternly scolding Frank and sending him away. After this incident, Christian takes the opportunity to open up to Sigrid. He shares his past experiences with friendships, revealing that most people were only interested in him for his wealth. Frank, however, was different. He was the only one who didn't care about Christian's wealth, making him a true friend in Christian's eyes. The next day, Christian drives Sigrid to school. During a break, Sigrid's friend excitedly approaches her, having learned about her budding relationship with the son of a millionaire. The friend cautions Sigrid, suggesting that people like Christian are accustomed to getting what they want easily and might quickly lose interest if things are too straightforward. Later, when Sigrid meets Christian again, he invites her to his bed. Initially, Sigrid hesitates, recalling her friend's advice. She attempts to resist, wanting to avoid being just another fleeting interest in Christian's life. However, as the evening unfolds, she finds herself unable to resist the growing connection between them, leading to a moment of intimacy. This development marks a turning point in their relationship as Sigrid grapples with her feelings and the complexities of being involved with someone like Christian. In the next sequence of events, Christian extends an invitation to Sigrid to visit his house, which is situated in a secluded area outside the city. Sigrid, along with Christian and Frank, arrive at the house. Once inside, Sigrid finds herself frequently checking her phone, a habit that Christian visibly disapproves of. In an effort to encourage a more engaging and intimate setting, Christian suggests they spend their time together without the distraction of their phones. Agreeing to this, Sigrid hands over her phone to Christian, who then conceals it in an undisclosed location. As the evening unfolds, Sigrid spends some time playing with Frank while Christian steps away to fetch another bottle of wine. It's during this brief absence that a startling revelation occurs. Frank seizes the opportunity to remove his mask and urgently pleads with Sigrid for help. He warns her that Christian has a creepy side and insists that she must leave immediately for her own safety. This unexpected turn of events leaves Sigrid in a state of shock and fear. Upon Christian's return, carrying the wine, the atmosphere has shifted dramatically. Sigrid, now visibly distressed and no longer enjoying the evening, expresses a desire to go to sleep, hoping to escape the unsettling situation. The following morning, Sigrid wakes up and decides to leave the house. However, she quickly discovers that the front door is locked, trapping her inside. As she frantically searches for the keys, Christian unexpectedly appears. He casually explains that he always locks the doors at night as a security measure, ensuring that no one can enter or exit without his knowledge. This revelation adds another layer of tension to the narrative, as Sigrid's sense of unease grows, and she begins to realize the potential danger of her situation. During a serene walk together, Christian and Sigrid take in the beautiful scenery surrounding his house. Amidst this peaceful setting, Sigrid brings up the subject of having a spare key to the house. She explains that it would be more convenient for her, especially in the mornings, so she wouldn't have to disturb him. Christian, however, reveals that there is only one key and suggests that she should feel free to wake him if she needs anything. This response, though seemingly nice, hints at a subtle undercurrent of control in their dynamic. Returning to the house, the evening takes a turn as Sigrid begins to feel nauseous, losing her appetite during dinner. Concerned about her mother, who is unwell, Sigrid requests her phone from Christian. She explains her need to check on her mother's health. Christian complies, retrieving the phone, but with a condition. Sigrid must speak to her mother on speakerphone, in his presence. After the call, during which her mother assures her that everything is fine, Christian criticizes Sigrid's apparent dependency on her phone. He then takes the phone away from her once again, concealing it in a hidden location. Feeling a need to escape the tension and perhaps gather her thoughts, Sigrid expresses a desire to take Frank for a walk. She suggests this as an opportunity for her and Frank to bond and understand each other better. Meanwhile, Christian agrees to the plan, seeing it as a chance to occupy himself with other tasks. This segment of the movie subtly showcases Sigrid's growing discomfort and her attempts to navigate the increasingly complex and controlling nature of her relationship with Christian. After their walk, Sigrid seizes the opportunity to converse with Frank and delve into the specifics of his peculiar situation. However, Frank is cautious, urging her to speak softly out of fear that Christian might be eavesdropping on their conversation. Frank's apprehension is palpable, hinting at the underlying tension and fear he has of Christian. When Sigrid suggests the possibility of escaping immediately, Frank's response is one of sheer terror. He confesses that he would rather face death than the consequences of being caught attempting to flee, as he is acutely aware of the severe punishment Christian would inflict. Despite the grimness of their situation, Sigrid is resolute in her moral stance. She firmly states that she is not willing to resort to violence, particularly not attacking Christian in his sleep. Nevertheless, her fear and desperation for safety lead her to discreetly take a kitchen knife, which she hides under her pillow as a precaution. This tense atmosphere escalates when Christian returns to the house. He intends to change the bedsheet, but Sigrid, anxious to keep the hidden knife concealed, insists on doing it herself. Christian is initially reluctant to accept to her request, but she barely manages to persuade him. Later, as Sigrid takes a shower, Christian's unexpected knock on the bathroom door heightens her anxiety. He informs her that they need to talk, further intensifying the suspense. When Sigrid, trembling with anxiety, enters the bedroom, she braces herself for what Christian might say. However, to her bewilderment, Christian's fury is not directed at her or any serious matter, but rather at the bedsheet being all wrinkled. In a sudden shift of mood, he bursts into laughter, claiming his previous anger was merely a joke. This unpredictable behavior adds another layer to Christian's complex and unsettling character, leaving Sigrid in a state of constant unease and uncertainty about his true intentions. In a sudden and alarming turn of events, Christian's behavior towards Sigrid becomes inappropriate and aggressive. He starts kissing her without her consent, crossing a line that visibly upsets Sigrid. In a reflexive response to his unwelcome advances, she slaps him, prompting him to leave the room. Later, during dinner, Sigrid starts feeling unwell, her condition rapidly deteriorating until she loses consciousness. Christian, responding to this, carries her to the bedroom. When Sigrid regains consciousness, she instinctively reaches under her pillow for the kitchen knife she had hidden earlier, only to find it missing. Christian then reveals a chilling discovery. He has heard a recording of a conversation in which Frank divulges everything to Sigrid, including their plan to attack Christian. Exhibiting a sense of betrayal, Christian shows Sigrid the knife he found under her pillow, voicing his disappointment in her actions. He then leads her to a room where Frank is confined. Christian tells her that Frank, like a loyal dog, confessed everything to him. In a shocking moment, as Christian reaches into the cage, Frank retaliates by biting him. This act of defiance leads to a violent confrontation between Frank and Christian, with Christian ultimately overpowering Frank. Seizing this chaotic moment, Sigrid quickly grabs the keys to the house and makes a desperate escape. Christian, upon realizing Sigrid is missing, is thrown into a state of panic. In his fury, he takes Frank, still leashed, to the barn where he subjects him to a series of cruel and inhumane treatments. This includes dousing Frank with water, covering his head with a bag, forcefully placing him in a cage, blasting loud music, and striking the cage with a baseball bat, causing Frank to bark in distress. These actions reveal the extent of Christian's disturbed nature and his capacity for cruelty, heightening the movie's sense of horror and urgency. In a desperate attempt to exert control, Christian's actions escalate in violence as he physically assaults Frank. Meanwhile, Sigrid, having fled into the forest, quickly realizes the uselessness of trying to navigate the dense woods alone. Armed with a stick for protection, she makes a bold decision to return to the house. As she approaches, she hears disturbing noises coming from the barn and discovers Christian inflicting pain on Frank. Driven by a mix of fear and determination, Sigrid stealthily approaches Christian and, gathering all her strength, strikes him forcefully. This sudden attack momentarily distracts Christian, allowing Sigrid to attempt to aid Frank. However, the situation rapidly deteriorates as Christian recovers, grabs a bat, and strikes Sigrid in retaliation. Overwhelmed by the chaos and violence, Christian collapses to the floor. The movie then cuts to a subsequent scene, showing a starkly contrasting moment of normalcy with Christian preparing breakfast. He fills a bowl with food and descends to the cage where Frank is confined, spitefully spitting into the food before placing it inside the cage. The narrative takes an even darker turn as Christian carries a second bowl of food to the barn. There, we are confronted with the harrowing sight of Sigrid, now wearing a dog suit, indicating that she has been subdued to the same fate as Frank. This final scene chillingly reveals the complete transformation of Sigrid's circumstance. She is no longer a guest in Christian's house, but has become another one of his pets. The story concludes on this unsettling note, leaving a haunting portrayal of manipulation, control, and the loss of freedom. Did this story spook you out? Let us know in the comments below. For more horror movie recaps, subscribe to our channel, and we will see you in the next one. Fear awaits you.